Paul, Mescal, and Daisy Edgar-Jones, welcome to An Actor Despairs. How are you guys doing?
Not bad, thank you.
Good.
Oh, man, I've seen a lot of television in my life, but I don't think I've ever been this floored by a romance ever. I watched the show 3 times, and I cried every time. I was just like, you guys are incredible actors, but your chemistry was just magnetic. And I just love the characters. I just want Marianne and Connell to be together forever.
Mm.
But before we dig into the work, I'd just like to kind of start a little bit at the beginning. So, Paul and Daisy, can you talk about where you grew up and how you got started into acting?
You.
Yeah.
So I kind of had been doing it all my life. Like I always did sort of the school plays and things like that. And but I never really knew it could be a kind of career choice until I was about 15. And my mum heard about this big company in the UK called the National Youth Theatre, which is a wonderful place. You audition, and if you get in, you get to do kind of shows with them every summer and stuff like that. So I got in when I was 15, and I kind of met lots of like-minded people and stuff, and I was like, oh, this could maybe be something I could do. And then I was very lucky. I got an agent, and about like a year into auditioning, I got a job on a show called Cold Feet, which was my first kind of acting job. So yeah, that's how I kind of got into it.
Amazing. Paul, how about you?
Yeah, I got into it maybe a little later. I didn't do any kind of drama or stuff growing up until in kind of transition year, which is kind of like a fake year in secondary school where they let you do loads of kind of extracurricular stuff. And we did Phantom of the Opera as a school musical.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, that was... Yeah, it was crazy. It was kind of the deep end, but I loved that. But again, didn't see it as a kind of valid. I didn't see any. I had no reference point for other people in my life. I didn't know any other actors, so I was like, this is a hobby that I really enjoy. And then as it came to like applying for colleges, I suddenly started to go, okay, that's the thing that I really enjoy. So I quickly applied for any drama schools that were still accepting applications, and the Lear in Dublin, where I ended up training, let me audition, and that was how I kind of got into it.
Amazing. That's so great. And this is your first television performance, right?
Yes, it is. Again, kind of in at the deep end.
Oh man, you're like Cillian Murphy. You're taking over. You're Irish finest. So Paul and Daisy, I'm curious, how did you guys first hear? Did you know about the novel before the show got developed, or did you find out about it after?
Yeah, I had heard about the novel, but just it was one of those ones that I never got around to actually reading. And then the audition was sent through my agent, and it was going to be the adaptation of the novel. So I was like, oh, that gives me the reason to go out and read it. And read it very, very quickly, faster than I would have read any other book before, and just like fell in love with it. So that was my introduction to the book, was through the audition process.
Wow. How about you, Daisy?
Mine was kind of much the same, really. I mean, my best friend had been bought it by our other best friend, who like is in love with Sally Rooney, everything she's ever written. She just loves it. And she's actually doing her dissertation on normal people now. So it's...
Oh, no way. That's amazing.
So she was kind of like, you have to read it, but I didn't, same with Paul, I didn't kind of get around to it. And then I got the audition through, and that's how I kind of got introduced to it. And yeah, it's a very strange thing. I think Paul would feel the same. We were reading it, really imagining playing the characters, which is a kind of strange way to, and also a wonderful way to read a story, because already you're really empathizing with everything sort of that they're going through. It's amazing.
That's amazing. One of the things I talk a lot about on this podcast is the difference between good acting and great acting. And when great acting happens, no other actor or actress in the world could have played those roles. And with Marianne and Connell, like, it was so seismic, your performances. There's no other actor or actress in the world that could have delivered the truth to Marianne and Connell the way you guys did. And it was so riveting. And I'm just like, I'm so excited to talk to you guys, because you guys are going to take over the world, and I'm so excited for what's going to happen to your careers. But man, I'm just floored. So can you talk about like the process? Because I imagine, did you guys do chemistry tests?
Yeah,
we did.
we did. I met Daisy in the second kind of round of chemistry tests. I think Daisy was the second last person in that day, or the second, wasn't it the second last, Daisy?
Yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, and I think that was obviously, with a project like this, that was always going to be a very important part of the casting process. And yeah, I just remember doing the chemistry together. It was really
It
good.
was nice. I think like Paul and I are so lucky, really, because like, you know, we had such a wonderful, because for both of us it's a very sort of early on in our kind of careers, and obviously it's Paul's first TV thing, and it's my like first main part.
Yeah.
Like we were very lucky to have like Lenny and the sort of all the kind of filmmakers, because they really gave us space to kind of feel we could do certain things, because it, you know, it is a bit nerve-wracking when you're given a kind of role and you think, oh god,
Totally.
I don't know how to do this. So yeah, we were also very lucky, like we love acting with each other too. I think we both have a very similar kind of dialogue when it comes to the characters, so it always meant it felt quite natural quite early on, which was really good.
That's amazing. And then with the intimacy, there must have been immense trust between you and Paul, you know, to really dig into Marion and Connell the way the book is written, you know. And was that overwhelming for you guys when you knew in the novel what was about to occur and you had to film this for 6 months?
Yeah.
Yeah, it was something that was like, I think we both knew signing on to the project that, like, first and foremost, I think I can speak on Daisy's behalf and say that firstly, we're fans of the book and we're lucky that we're in it. But I think when we knew that the book was going to be adapted, that there was going to be scenes of an intimate nature. And I think what was important to both of us was that there was there was a healthy and safe working process put in place for us, which was like Element and Lenny and Hetty really like, it's not that they pioneered it, but they really put a really safe working process around us in terms of hiring an intimacy coordinator, giving space around those scenes so we could have conversations and feel, ultimately, because if me and Daisy both feel safe and creative in those scenes, that's there, you're going to get the best product as a result of that. And I think I'm really proud of what the sex and intimacy looks like on screen, and it's not like something I've seen a huge amount of before.
Yeah, I think it's the best on-screen, you know, depiction of intimacy and sex I've ever seen in my life. You know, usually it can be very stylistic or it can be very loud, and this, you kind of felt like you were there, you know, like it was just so accurate. And I think, you know, cinema can kind of like try to bump things up, but this was just so beautiful. You guys worked with an intimacy coordinator. Is that correct?
Yeah, we did. Her name's Ita O'Brien, and she kind of was the sort of pioneer of that job. I mean, she did work with sex education as well, so she's worked with sort of young people before, and she's wonderful. I mean, she kind of just creates an environment that's incredibly safe and pressure free, and it means all we have to worry about is the acting. And what's wonderful about those scenes is that they often come sort of in the middle of a dialogue scene, or that, you know, they're always following on a narrative beat, so that meant that we didn't have to worry about the sort of physical side. We could just think about, you know, what we were trying to narratively, you know, say with those scenes.
Yeah. That's amazing. And then you guys, when you started this, did you kind of use the book as a Bible for the character? Was that kind of your lead into Marianne and Connell?
Yeah, I think when you have that source material at hand, like, I think we'd be lucky if we ever had that kind of rich material, like, because you're just not going to have that on every project that you end up doing.
Yeah.
So definitely that book accompanied both of us to set every day, and just like, yeah, it became like a source of comfort. Just before you do the scene, you'd read, if it was a scene that was applicable to the book, you just read it, and that book kind of feels second nature at this point, I think.
Wow. And Daisy, you know, being from London, like, was it tough for you translating to the to the Irish dialect, or?
Yeah, do you know, it wasn't too bad. I mean, I mean, hopefully it sounds all right. I mean,
it sounds amazing. I thought you were an Irish actress, and then when I was like, oh wow.
Thank you. My mum's from the north of Ireland, so I've always I've got a lot of family who live there, and I always kind of went back and forth as a young sort of as a young person. So yeah, I mean, I didn't find it too hard to kind of get into certain sort of rhythmically, and also like I think accents are so interesting. They kind of define your character quite a lot more than we even realize. You know, I think coming from sort of London, my accent's almost sort of naturally quite self-conscious, so it's strange how the kind of accents change the way you act, which is quite helpful. But so I think humor wise, for example, I felt I understood it a wee bit quicker because I have lots of family who are from there. So yeah, but I listened to Sally Rooney speak quite a bit, and I had an accent coach who was wonderful, and
Wow.
and Lenny had a really specific idea of the accents, because I think what's amazing about Ireland is there's such a kind of range of different accents, you know, in such a kind of small space. So I think it was important to get the detail right, and yeah, hopefully we did. So
That's it. Yeah, you absolutely did. And then I'm curious, when you guys were shooting this, did you shoot in order or did you guys do block?
yeah, no, it was very much, I mean, we did block to block. So we had like the first 6 episodes we all did in one go. Then we had like half a day off. What was it? And then
Half a day. It was the morning off.
yeah, it was an hour after that party, and we were back into rehearsals. Me and Paul were like wrecked.
It was like one of the only nights we got kind of drunk on a school night, as we called it. We were like, like at the wrap of the first block, we were like, oh my God, we have to go in the morning.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
We were very fragile, but it was quite good because the second block's quite dark and we were both in quite a vulnerable place.
Yeah.
It was fine.
I think one of the things that was so mesmerizing about your performances is that, you know, usually we often see in Hollywood when they have like younger characters, they have different actors play the younger parts versus the older. But watching you guys age throughout the series, like I saw your growth, you know, who Connell and Marianne were at the beginning versus the end. It was, I mean, you can't really play growth. So it was amazing that you guys were able to show that. I mean, it's a testament to the writing, but most of all, it's a testament to your acting. You know, when you guys tethered into these characters, did you work with a coach, or was Sally the coach, or how did that happen?
In terms of like an acting coach, or
yeah, like an acting coach, or
no, I think we were blessed in the fact that we have like on the first block we had like Lenny, who is I think one of the greatest directors working at the moment, but also in particular like he's an actor's director. His films, in my opinion, have a very clear identity, but he's not a director who stylistically imposes himself. I was listening to a podcast with him actually today where he talks about like removing himself from the picture so that you can see the action of the characters, and his process is incredibly actor centric, as is Hetty MacDonald, who's an extraordinary director as well. And I think that's as good an acting coach as I think we could have had, and they were both incredibly engaged with discussions that me and Daisy had, or thoughts that me and Daisy had about the character. And I think ultimately that's a huge sign of trust. And when you're working kind of for 5 months day in day out, I think it's really important to feel artistically valued, and they really made me feel that throughout the whole process.
Yeah, and we were also really lucky as well that we had such a kind of brilliant team, like even just simply hair and costume wise, because I think like those characters, you know, in order to realistically play kind of getting older, I think the clothes you wear and the way you style yourself is quite helpful in helping us do that. So like specifically, especially in Sligo, like when Marianne is she's meant to be a bit odd, I had a very odd haircut, an odd style of clothing, which kind of really helped because physically you feel a bit odd, you know, but then when she went to Trinity it was all a bit more like, I don't know, styled or whatever. So that was quite helpful too for the kind of aging aspect of things.
I also do feel shooting something for 5 months ages you about 40
We actually were haggard.
There was no acting required at that point.
What was it tough working with two different directors, or were they both like, did they come early on to the process and kind of give their approach, and was it in sync with one another?
Yeah, it was actually really brilliantly helpful because I think Block 2 is such a different stage of their lives, and it was really nice to have kind of, and I think Lenny said too, that it was really nice to have a fresh pair of eyes, and Hetty had a really kind of, she's such a big fan of the book, and she's so detailed and very deep with the way she kind of directs, and it was very helpful to have a different kind of fresh pair of eyes for block 2, because I mean it's quite, you know, it's quite a tough thing for us to film as well, because, you know, they're not very happy. I mean, they're not together very much as well. It's a lot more of us on our own and stuff, so it was nice to have a kind of a different sort of take on it. And but they're both brilliant. I mean, they both are very actor centric, like Paul said, and it kind of, they gave us space and room to grow, which I think is really amazing, and probably quite rare, unfortunately, you know.
Yeah. And Paul, how did this feel for you, you know, being your first television experience? You know, was it overwhelming, or did you feel very, very much so in safe hands with Sally and Lenny?
Yeah.
And
I think the I wouldn't want to go back to the month prior to filming. I think that was genuinely quite an anxious time for, because I had no reference point in my life to know what leading a series with Daisy or like working in that medium was like. I didn't physically know what a day looked like, or like how a set worked. So that month was kind of the month leading up to the shooting was like my brain was kind of going 100 miles an hour. But I don't know, the first 2 weeks of the shoot were actually like a gorgeous time, because we were in one location. It was me and like a lot of the scenes were just me and Daisy, and you start to build up a rapport with everybody, and everybody is there to keep each other afloat.
yeah,
And then I suddenly realized, okay, I've been trusted by like Lenny to do this part, and it's just about kind of, it takes a little bit of time to value yourself and to kind of figure out how the set works. And I think everybody was incredibly patient, and it was just kind of about checking back in with myself and going, okay, I deserve to be here. I'm working with incredible people, and then it just kind of, you get into a rhythm with it. It's like running a marathon. You just kind of get your like split pace, and you just kind of move at that, and you figure it out from there, I think.
yeah. Wow, it's beautiful. And then I'm curious, you know, with Connell and Marianne, they have their own like sensitivities and their own distinct personalities, and you guys did such a beautiful way of, you know, their idiosyncratic behaviors. You know, how was that? How were you able to kind of maintain that for all 12 episodes? Because, you know, when they're together, they're very much, you know, two different people. When they're apart, they're very much two different people. And you guys, you know, you can't teach that. That's just like instincts of an actor. Like, that was so beautiful, I thought, just the way, you know, who they are together when they're apart, you know, and when you know, Connell's in college and he's kind of on his own, and then when he's with Helen, is that the
Yes.
character? Yeah. I was just amazed by that.
Mm-hmm. Well, I think the thing that struck me is particularly in the first block, which I think was really useful to both me and Daisy, because I don't know if Daisy agrees, but it was quite a nerve-wracking experience at the start, and we were both able to kind of hold on to each other throughout that process. But then you kind of start going to the second block, and you realize, oh, I have a totally new relationship with Helen, for example, and Marianne has one with Jamie, and you suddenly start to go, oh, it's not that I enjoyed acting with everybody on this job like so much, but me and Daisy had the opportunity to kind of like work out of each other's pockets for like 2.5 months. So we had a very clear shorthand. Like, the discussions prior to shooting a scene with Daisy were totally different to different acts, because it was finely tuned at that point. So when you kind of take that away into the second block, where we weren't working with each other as much, I felt a real yearning to be going back into the scenes with Marianne, and
Yeah.
I think that shows in the series when you do get to see them together in the second half of the series.
Yeah, absolutely. And I'm curious, you know, for you, Daisy, you know, Marianne, you know, she's really, you know, she goes through so many dark places, you know, as an actress. How are you able to kind of access that? You know, like, there's, you know, in her youth, she's kind of, you know, idiosyncratic and has her own kind of odd behavior. But then as she progresses and it doesn't work out with Connell, I think she takes on a lot of inherent darkness, you know, that, talk to me about that.
Yeah, I mean, it was kind of, as an actor, it's such a kind of joy to be given a character like that, because, you you know, there's a large amount of Marianne that I do really relate to and can really understand, but there's a large amount of Marianne that's nothing at all like me, that is quite dark and is quite kind of tricky to kind of access. So I think it was really wonderful to have that challenge. I mean, definitely, you know, we became very attached to the characters and stuff because we'd lived with them for so long. So I did, you know, it was sometimes very difficult playing those scenes because you felt very sorry for like, how does he want to be okay? So,
Totally.
you know, I mean, it's like Paul said, like having a book that is so incredibly detailed and clear and so sort of accessible meant that, you know, you did have a very kind of detailed understanding of the why and sort of where that feeling was coming from. But it was also kind of, you know, having such a wonderful kind of director to help you access that stuff and make a clear kind of understanding of how to play it. But it was a challenge because a lot of the stuff is internalized, and to try and kind of play that with an exterior medium like TV is a challenge, because as much as you can kind of try and think all the words, it's like, you know, unless you have a voiceover, you're not going to really know.
Yeah.
That stuff. But yeah, I mean, it was like an amazingly deep and complex person to play, and, you know, very lucky to have had the chance to do it.
Well, you really rose to the cause. You're amazing. You know, it was so unbelievable. And I think this is like going to be one of the biggest shows on planet Earth. And I'm so excited that, you know, like, oddly enough, you know, it's horrible what's happening in the world, but I think this narrative is really going to give people comfort and hope, you know, because I think that's what the world needs the most of all right now, is just hope and the chemistry between you two and romance. You know, it's something we all seek out. You know, drawing from this kind of star-crossed lover, you know, was there own kind of like relationships that you guys drew from to pull to this kind of seismic love?
I think you kind of do that subconsciously. Like, I think when you're acting, it's not that you kind of consciously think, oh, what can I draw on from my life? I think it kind of organically happens that acting, I think, is the sum of your life before, like, it all kind of, you can smell it and taste your life before in the parts. But I think also, again, to have a book like this behind you, where the detail that Sally writes about the characters and how they're feeling towards each other at different moments, to me was the main form of preparation. Because as Daisy said, there was a lot of parts of Connell that I recognized with on the surface, but after that, he's an incredibly complex individual that I like. You have to imagine the circumstances, and to have the book behind you to support that, I think probably helped more than kind of delving into my own personal life or my own personal relationship to relationships.
Yeah.
That's my opinion on it.
Absolutely. And then as you guys, how long did you guys shoot for?
4.5, 5 months.
And then 5 months, because we had like 2 weeks rehearsal, so about 5 months altogether.
Oh wow, you guys got to rehearse.
Yes, we were very lucky. Yeah, we got.
Talk to me about that process. What was that like? Did you do all 12 episode like reading?
Paul and I always laugh because, like, I think more than anything, it was probably an attempt to get us to like be friends, because we had all of this, like, we had to get on, you know. It would have been really tricky if we hated each other's guts. So it's good that we don't, but we were so like unbelievably like polite with each other, and it was like, I was really stressed because I thought we would have like no crack and no banter at all, because I was like, yeah, love the characters, like love the book, like yeah, love you know, it was serious. There was no sense of humor. But anyway, within the first week, we were like pissing ourselves over stupid stuff, so all was fine. But like, yeah, it was really fun. I mean, we just kind of, we didn't really read through the scenes very much. We just kind of discussed them a lot, which was cool. And wow. And Lenny is really wonderful. The way that he works is very fluid. So often we'd come to scenes and we'd talk about dialogue, and he'd change things if we had an idea about stuff, which I've never had before. You know, usually you're kind of given the scripts and that's what you have, and that's wonderful. But I think in order to create such a kind of raw and naturalistic piece of storytelling, which the books is so wonderfully raw and naturalistic, it's good to kind of feel you can be free with a scene and you can get to the bare bones of it rather than kind of talk around it, you know, if you know what I mean. Yeah. So but it was grand because it meant that when we had the read through, like Paul and I, whenever we got onto the bits that we'd rehearsed, were really comfortable. So it looked like we we'd rehearsed that stuff.
That's amazing.
That read through was like, I can barely remember. I just remember clicking into Daisy. I just remember like I was so nervous because it was like one of those crazy read throughs that I'd never experienced before, where there's a microphone in front of you and
Oh, wow.
your little name there.
That's terrifying.
And camera and like I remember like I was like, okay, I'm just gonna, whenever I'm in a scene with Daisy, I'm gonna stare at her because there's just so many people in the room. And but that was kind of one of those moments that it was just like, hold on for dear life and pray for it to be over.
Wow. Yeah, that's amazing. And I'm curious, when you guys both found out, you know, you were going to play opposite, did you FaceTime? Like, I saw that adorable British Never Have I Ever Vogue where you said that you left him unread.
I
know, but thank you.
No. I was like, oh, Daisy's gonna be an absolute disaster. She does. And then we cut to the disastrous rehearsal process where we're talking to each other as the most polite individuals on planet Earth. But then thankfully that kind of like we just really got on throughout the process, which was amazing.
And in that rehearsal, do you guys feel like it, you know, you did say, you kind of implied that it was meant for you guys. Did a friendship really build there, or did that kind of start during filming?
I mean, yes, I think we were so nervous, like, because it is so scary. I mean, you know, the first day filming, I mean, the night before, like, I didn't sleep a wink. Like, I convinced myself I overdosed on, like, my Corsadol mouthwash. I was like, I'm gonna die. Well, I just was so scared. And I think everyone feels like that, because it's, like, more than anything, it's, like, the first day of school, because you think, like, God, I've got to spend however long with these people. I hope they like me. I hope I'm a friend. You know what I mean? And but like, yeah, so I think within the first kind of week, once we kind of got that over with, and it is like, it's scary, you know, then because we kind of were both experiencing it the same, we just got on so well, and like, we're best pals. So that's handy.
Oh, yeah.
Well, I think we are we, Paul? What
I can confirm that fact, yeah. Definitely.
That's amazing. And then, you know, can you talk about the, you know, I'm sorry, I don't know their name, but the actress that played Helen and the actor that played Jamie, you know, what was it like, you know, because obviously you have this chemistry between Marion and Connell, but then you have other relationships that your characters delve into. You know, what was that like?
Like, I think like the way Louise Kiley, who cast the show, did such an amazing job, obviously with Lenny as well, but like, me and Daisy were so lucky that everybody that we acted with were and are extraordinarily talented actors, and they fit the parts so well. So it was like, I remember Aoife, who plays Helen, was one of the last people to be cast because she comes in later in the series, and I was like, yeah, who's going to be I kept asking Catherine, the producer, was like, do we know who's playing Helen yet? And I think those parts are quite difficult in a show like this, because they come in and they are in orbit of Connell and Marianne narratively.
Yeah.
But I think the detail of characterization and how aware they were that they were in the series in context with Connell and Marianne, and to still have a lasting impact on the show was a testament to them as actors. And it was really fun working with them, because you're working with somebody, as much as it was like I was used to working with Daisy, it's always lovely to work and challenge yourself with another actor and figure out how that person works and how you build a chemistry, or how the chemistry between Connell and Helen is different to Connell and Marianne. And that, because that's really important to the overall show. You need to see that there's an actual chemistry there, but it's just not as strong as the chemistry between Connell and Marianne. Mm-hmm. And if that doesn't exist, then it's confusing.
Yeah, and I think that's one of the most, like, what is so special about the series, because, you know, those characters are so prevalent in the book, but we're able to kind of elevate them in a way that you just are in TV, because, you know, in a story you only ever get one of the characters' perspectives, so it's always going to be biased towards Marianne or Connell, whereas in a kind of scene you get all the nuances of the other characters and how they feel and how their faces move and how they interact, and it's really exciting to kind of explore that a bit more, like, you know, that there is a kind of complex side to, for Alan, for example, Marianne's brother, you know, he is, you know, there's something going on there, and Jamie, like, you actually see that him and Marianne do get on and they have brilliant chemistry. However, it's not right, and it's not the kind of relationship she should have. So yeah, and we're all such like, we're all really good friends, and like it was really
I saw
fun.
on Instagram that you guys are all like zooming with each other.
Yeah.
I'm like, this is amazing.
Yeah, it's brilliant. I mean, like, it's just like, when as a young person, like, it's so much fun to have a cast all your age who are all like top of their game, brilliant. It was like such a kind of wonderful experience to kind of go in every day and work with your friends and make something that you're proud of. You know, like, when do you get that? It was amazing.
Yeah. Who was the actor that played Niall? That guy was amazing. Oh my God.
I finished a play with Desi just there. I was doing a play with Des in Dublin. So I've seen a lot of Des this year.
Oh, no way.
Yeah.
Wow,
and
yeah.
Fionn as well. Fionn, who plays Jamie, is like brilliant. Like,
we can give him a shout out.
Yeah, we gotta give Fionn a shout out. He's like, oh, no, he's just the best. But yeah, and India as well. Shout out to him and everyone.
Also, the actresses that played your mothers, like, I mean, wow, that was a whole other aspect of Marion and Connell, is, you know, their relationship to their mothers. And I kind of thought that was a really unique thing that the story explored, because, you know, our parents really do have, you know, it can be a great impact, or for some people, it can be a really bad impact. Yeah. And what was that like, you know, working with these actresses that played your mother? Did you guys build a relationship with them as well?
Yeah. I mean, they're amazing. Like Aisling as well is a really lovely person. So like, it's just a wonderful an actor she is. But you know, I mean, she was amazing, and she brought so much to Denise, because I think the relationship between Marianne and her family is a really interesting one, because I think, you know, in the story, Marianne really does believe that her mother thinks she is this unlovable, cold person. But we also know that, you know, her father was abusive and abusive to Denise and to Alan as well, probably. So it's really interesting to kind of to have more of a nuanced version, you know, with the kind of screen version, just because you can see, you know, what Denise is actually going through, and the way she kind of is acting with Marianne, and perhaps why she is being that way. So I think Aisling's just amazing. I mean, she gave so much kind of depth to Denise, and same with Frank, who played Alan, you know, and I loved doing those scenes, even though they weren't always the happiest, you know. And then same with Sarah, who played obviously Connor's mum. Like, she's just amazing.
Because Sarah was one of the, like, from both me and Daisy, like Aisling and Sarah respectively would have been probably the most experienced actors that we worked with on set, because it's a predominantly young cast. And I remember working with Sarah, I was just like, oh, like, just like totally prepared all the time, which is like a given, but like just a powerhouse. I knew that what was required from like shot to shot and the different angles, which is something that I was figuring out. So I was like literally just like absorbing the way that she worked on set, but also just, I think, the dexterity with which she plays Lorraine, in terms of how warm and maternal she is, versus how she just calls Connell up on his bullshit, which is so refreshing to see. And the detail in which she worked, I just found like so exciting. You'd sit, like, the scene in the car with her, I was just like, you are so good. Like, she's also just the best crack as well. So it was like a dream working with her.
One of my favorite scenes was when it's like in episode 12, when she's meant to be like, oh, my little Christmas miracles, and we can't Christmas miracles. Do you remember that? That was so funny.
We couldn't stop laughing outside.
Wow. Paul, do you feel like in a lot of ways, you know, this experience was film school for you?
I don't know how I could say no to that. I think I obviously I did drama school training, but it is a new. It's like it's a new subject. It's a new curriculum. You're starting from scratch, and you just kind of have to trust that you can do the acting. But you do, like, I think this was the dream job, in the sense that, like, both myself and Daisy were sitting there listening to Lenny and Susie and Hetty and Kate, the DPs, discussing shots. So you're like absorbing masters of their crafts, literally discussing how they film things. And I think I learned a huge amount just from being privy to those conversations, which isn't always the case with a lot of actors on set. And something that, like, I definitely think has kind of accelerated my understanding of how filming works. I think, like, this, like all the information I absorbed doing this job, like typically would take 3 or 4 years of working in film to get to. And I think I was lucky that I got to do it in 4 or 5 months.
Yeah. I think one of my favorite things about this show too is, like, obviously the performances with dialogue are amazing, but there's so many moments of silences with Marianne and Connell, and then Marianne and Connell together. Like, the scene where you guys are in your bedroom eating popsicles. Like, there was just so much going on with no dialogue. I was like, oh my God. Like Oscar, Golden Globe, Emmys, like I'm rooting for all of it for you guys. Paul Mescal and Daisy Edgar-Jones are taking it for the win for sure. But I'm also curious, like, what the Italian episode, was that actually in Italy?
Yes. Yeah.
Wow. Talk to me about that.
That was
like,
actually, it was the final 2 weeks of the whole shoot. So it is quite funny because we were knackered. And we meant, woo, Italy. And we were like, woo, Italy. It was like such an amazing place to be, and like such an amazing place to kind of finish the series. It was the most beautiful location ever. That villa that we were filming in was mad, and then we all had like a big night out in Rome and stuff, which was so fun. Like it was just brilliant, like, and we all got like fake tans. I've never had one of them, so that was quite fun. But no, it was brilliant. It was such a nice group to end with, and like we all kind of let loose a bit. I mean, we had quite a lot to get done, but yeah, it kind of felt like we were on holiday, so it was quite tricky to
we shot that episode in 8 days, I think, which was like really, really fast.
What part of Italy was that?
It was just north of Rome. Stimigliano something.
Sounds about right.
Yeah, I remember there was one day, the day that we were shooting in the supermarket scene in this gorgeous village, and like the whole town came out, and we were like talking to the owner. It was like a 94-year-old man, and there was that was one of my strongest memories of the shoot. Was just like, if I had never done this job, I would never see this part of the world. I would never meet these people. And like there was just a real strong sense of like not only a shooting community, but the community of the town. And I think that does make its way into the show, like kind of subconsciously.
Yeah, that was a mad day because we had this big like 3, 5 or 4 page scene, and we only had a limited time because there was a storm coming, and it's meant to end with that beautiful filmic view of it, of like the landscape, and obviously we had to try and like find a way, whereas like the clouds were starting to come, and we were like, oh my God, we're not going to get it, because obviously we couldn't go back. We only had that one day, but it was wonderful. We all just we got it done. And then obviously the mayor of the town brought all of the school kids, and they were all watching, and they were all really quiet when they needed.
No way.
It was wonderful. Like it was it was really special. It was amazing.
Wow, that's amazing. And then it sounds like you guys had a blast with the rest of the cast. Like you guys really kind of built a family out of this.
Yeah.
Wow, that's amazing. And then I'm curious, when you guys were working, I know what I saw, a lot of the music was maybe temporary, but did music kind of play a part in your developing of Marianne and Connell?
Massively. I mean, when we were back in our very polite stage, at least we did have that. Just like what songs we felt were on the playlist. And I think it was you, wasn't it? You found Sally Rooney has had playlists on Spotify for the characters. So we were like having a listen and whatever, and comparing our favorites and stuff. But yeah, I mean, I think it is like, it's a massive part of developing a character, because I think it sets an atmosphere, and it sets a kind of mind state when you listen to songs and stuff that work for the characters. So yeah, it was a really big part of the experience.
That's amazing. Can you give us a clue of some of the playlists, what was on there artist wise?
I have my phone. There was like a couple that was like, there's some that are songs that are directly attached to the characters, like say like So Long Marianne, Leonard Cohen, or like Christina by Telemann. But then there was other songs that were just like, we would constantly have playing in the like hair and makeup truck that like really remind me of the show. And they were just like, and I think that time in a shooting day is actually like a real sanctuary. Like I found that like going into hair and makeup in the morning. We had the most amazing people working with us. And like that hour before shooting, I just find that was the time that like I'd relax and music would be playing, and it was a really positive experience. And then that kind of starts your day off on the right foot.
Wow. Yeah.
That's
Yeah,
amazing.
I'm terrible for earworms as well. Like once I get a song in my head, I'll sing the verse, but just the one verse I know like multiple times throughout the day, which must have been annoying. But like Teardrop was one of them because
Teardrop.
yeah, teardrop on the dance floor. Do you
I
remember
do
it?
singing that song.
What? Eva played it.
No recollection. I remember you singing No Reptiles.
Teardrops on the dance floor, remind me, baby. That one, no?
No, I'm not even throwing you under the bus here. I just can't.
Eva played that. Oh
I-
my god! But yeah, no, actually, yeah, that was one. That was one. The one you said, Reptile by
No Reptiles.
yeah.
I can't remember. And then there was a kind like I'd be kind of, my music taste would be probably a little sadder and melancholic, and Daisy's would be a bit like dancier.
Arctic Monkeys. Yeah. Gotta love Alex Turner, man. The best. That's awesome. And then I'm curious now that, you know, it's coming out, you know, how has it been for you guys as Paul and Daisy navigating this whole PR crazy storm that's coming your way? I mean, you guys have had New York Times, Vogue, British Vogue. Is that been overwhelming? You know, because I think so much of the work out of a show is like the actual press part of it and selling it. And, you know, especially now that like it's going to be so big in the States and other countries. Talk to me about that.
Yeah, I suppose it's a bit, the idea of it is more daunting than the process has been. I think we're really lucky with the PR teams that we have around us, but it's a brand new experience, so we're learning about it. Like we're kind of coming into it like a little innocent, that we're like, oh, this is really exciting, but ultimately there's a lot of hard work involved, because you want to position the show as best as you possibly can, and that's just about figuring out your own way of navigating it. And I think so far it's been predominantly really positive experience, well, for me anyway.
Yeah, definitely. And it's nice when we get to do it together, because we can bounce off each other and our memories of it and stuff. It's strange when it's yourself and you're like, God, I'm talking about myself for so long. It's a bit odd because you're like, I should ask you some questions. But yeah, no, just like Paul said, it's really kind of, we love the show as well. So it is fun to talk about it. And, you know, with all this madness as well, we didn't know whether we would even be able to. So it's been brilliant that there's been other forms of being able to kind of still talk about the show, because we think it's a really special thing, and we are very proud of it. So we're glad we can sing its praises, because, you know, we are proud of what we've done.
Of course. I mean, you should be. Like I said, you guys are going to win a Golden Globe. I'm going to make sure of it. But
I'm going to hold you to that.
Yeah, I promise. I'll be there with like an air horn and a poster. Oh my God, that's amazing. And then I'm curious, you know, what is next for you guys, Daisy and Paul? You know, what can you talk about? I'm sure, Paul, for you especially, this being such a big thing, I imagine you probably got Peaky Blinders next. Like what's going on?
I'm not actually in a position. I know it's such a boring thing to say. We're not actually in a position to say at the moment, but hopefully if everything goes through in the right way, it should be really exciting, and hopefully I'll be able to let people know in a few weeks, or I don't know. Yeah.
Amazing.
Yeah.
Same. I was meant to start a job before all of this, but obviously it's been delayed, but it's definitely still gonna happen, which is cool. But I don't think I can say yet because it hasn't been sort of announced. But yeah, it's really nice to kind of to have something to sort of keep us going while we're kind of waiting for all of this to kind of pass.
And I'm curious, being British and Irish as actors, do you guys find yourself like seeking out American projects, or because like the BBC, you know, and so many other amazing projects are there, do you guys prefer to stay at home?
No, I'm quite like I recently signed with CAA, so
I heard. Congrats, dude. Yeah.
I mean, in the sense that like I'd work in Antarctica if I thought the job was good. It's not. I think while I'm young and I don't have commitments with family and things like that, I think I'll work wherever the projects are good, and I think that's important. I think it's important to kind of be open to working in different environments and in different places, because ultimately it's just going to broaden your skill set. You're going to work with people of different processes, and I think that's really important when we're kind of at the start of our careers.
Wow.
Yeah, I'd love to like work in any capacity, but yeah, I guess it's like brilliant directors and brilliant kind of stories are kind of what I seek, and you know, so much wonderful stuff comes out of America, so I'd love to do some things over there as well. But yeah, I just would love to kind of work on really exciting stories.
Amazing. And then a few final questions, because I know you guys have to do more today. I'm curious, you know, first I got to ask about this. Like, do you guys think, you know, it kind of ends on an ambiguous note? Did Marion and Connell end up together?
We flip between different. I fundamentally do believe at some point in Marianne and Connell's lives that they have to be together, because if I thought the opposite, I'd be incredibly depressed.
No, me too. I was like taking a Xanax at the end of the episode. I was like, oh my God.
I think same. I mean, I love the fact that I don't know, like, and I think I never will, and I quite like that, you know, because
the
I
ambiguity.
think they don't know themselves, but that like what they've given each other is an amazing thing. And so yeah, I don't know, I would like them to be together and be happy and have loads of children, but at the same time, if they don't, I know that they've like done so much wonderful stuff for each other like already, so hopefully they'll ultimately be happy whatever happens.
Think about how smart their kids would be. Those kids would be
Oh my God.
Quite intense.
They'd be so smart.
That's amazing. And then I'm curious now that as we're getting close to the release, have a lot of fans been contacting you? I imagine, you know, this book sold millions of copies. There must be so many people trying to reach out to you, and you know, these characters are going to be timeless. You know, has that been overwhelming?
It's really nice. Like it's so nice to kind of know that people are already invested in the story before the shows even come out, you know, and it's really nice that, you know, I mean, we're big fans of the book as well, so I mean everything, like I would be the same, like, you know, if I knew it was kind of being made and coming out, I'd be so excited / a bit nervous to see it, because you never know if it's going to live up to what you've kind of got in your mind. But yeah, everyone's been really lovely so far, so I mean it is strange, I mean, you know, it's like,
yeah, I'm sure.
it's really lovely, and like, yeah, I mean, it's just been nice that people are so excited for the show, and I hope that they like it, really.
I know we're in quarantine, but has anyone stopped you on the streets yet?
No. Never will.
Soon enough. And then I'm curious, as Daisy and Paul, you know, obviously it's been a tough time around the world. What's been keeping you guys inspired during this?
Yeah, I mean, it's really lovely kind of, you know, I mean, I don't know if it's the same, but here we do a clap for the NHS on a Thursday, and it's really wonderful. We all kind of, everyone along the street sticks their head out the window, and we all do a big clap for the frontline workers. And I think it's like, I don't know, I think it's a really wonderful thing. I've never felt so connected to everyone around me, actually. And I think, especially in London, it's quite a busy place. You're often very sort of, you're moving through, and it's all very fast paced, and everyone's quite anonymous. But, you know, now I'm very kind of aware of the people I pass on the street, and the people that live around me. And, you know, it's funny though, I never thought it would be like considered polite to cross the road when someone comes towards you. But yeah, I mean, I think it's just, yeah, everyone's sort of handled it so wonderfully. And yeah, it is a strange time, and it's a very anxious time for everyone, but you know, it's been nice to kind of, I mean, all we're having to do is stay indoors, and you know,
yeah,
it's you know, it's fine on the whole.
And this too shall pass is the thing that's keeping me kind of sane. I think like it's something that like normally, like globally, we're not all called to act in the same capacity, and I think it's a real opportunity to show solidarity in a way that, like, statistically, and I hope to God that we never have to do something like this again, but it's one of those moments where it's kind of a litmus test of your character. Like,
yeah,
Daisy said, all you have to do is stay at home and you're going to save lives. And yes, that's going to be difficult in some cases, but I think I find it to be a pleasant responsibility, because it's a challenge that you can see the direct cause and effect of your actions with, and I think that's really important.
Absolutely. It's really beautifully put, you know. Well, I got to say, Paul Mescal and Daisy Edgar-Jones, I'm I'm such huge fans of yours, and I'm so excited for what's to come. And I'm going to see you at the Golden Globes very soon, and and I'll be there, you know, rooting and say I told you so at the end of the awards. But thank you so much for coming on and giving back, and thank you for what you did as an artist, you know, for these characters. I mean, I really mean this with sincerity. It was some of the most beautiful acting I've ever seen. And as an actor, I think you've inspired millions and will inspire millions. And I'm so excited for your careers. You know, it's really beautiful work you did, and it deserves immense honor. And I hope I was able to give it justice in this interview.
No, I really, really appreciate that. That is incredibly kind of you, and words that I don't take lightly. So thank you.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah, well, congratulations. I'm so excited for you guys. And honestly, best chemistry since Romeo and Juliet, you know, Claire Danes, Leo, 1999. Honestly, it was incredible. But I got so much love for you guys, and I hope that, you know, we can hang in New York or London sometime soon.
That'd be so wonderful. Yeah. Definitely.
Yeah. All right. Well, I got so much love for you guys, and I hope everything stays safe and healthy for your family during this time. And I'm wishing you nothing but love.
You too. Thanks very much.
All right. Much love, guys.
So nice to meet you.
So nice. Yeah.
Thank you.
Love ya.
Bye.
Bye.